Okay, I'm going to be the last contestant. Can we start now? Right? Okay, good. I'm going to be the last contestant, so we're going to take time slowly, swiftly about slow food, slow pace lifestyle. And first thing first, I'd like to tell you something about my student first. Basically, I'm dealing with students, freshman students, about intermediate level. The class size is pretty small. It's about 30 students in one class. So it means we can actually have this lots of classroom activities. And well, let's move on to my lesson plan, straight to the point. In order to help you to understand, like to draw a T-map, is basically goes like this to help you understand my lesson more easily. First of all, I'm going to list my teaching objectives. The first one is help the students to get familiar with the vocabulary related to eco-friendly home, or to be more specifically, would be energy saving. Those vocabulary related to this. And the second aim would be using the one very good speaking strategy is called paraphrasing. And number three is a little bit critical thinking related to help the students think more about energy saving. And let me break it down into several steps. The first step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 steps would be the whole lesson. The first one is pre-listening activity. And it's very important to provide the student with 2 things. The first one is the background information. Eco-friendly. Some of the students have no idea about what's called eco-friendly. I'll show a picture. Basically, in Japan, there's one interesting house. It's completely transparent. Everything is built of glass. So when you're walking on the street, you can see through it. So I'm going to show this picture and try to help the student think about, do you think it's a good place? But actually, this is really energy saving. It's very eco-friendly because they don't actually using so much energy because the sunlight can provide lots of the energy, and they use the solar panel as well. So I'm going to show the picture, help the students think about it, the background information, and also help them with some of the language or with some of the vocabulary that they might have a bit, confused words. For example, like the words eco-friendly. Seriously, when I was teaching freshman students, they have no idea about eco-friendly. So it's better to give them a little bit definition. And also, we might show them some of the English words like watts or Celsius and degrees Celsius. Those are words they are familiar with, the high school students. If you show them something like this, W. But when it transforms into English, it's very difficult, so it's better for them. We should be very careful about picking those words. Those words might be the tripping stone for my students, so that's the reason why I have to present them. The reason I'm doing this is very simple. I read a book from Luna, it's called How to Teach Listening, a pretty handy book with the blue cover, released last year. And he emphasized the importance of showing the background information and the language points. So that's the reason what I'm going to do. And the second part is basically the listening practice. And I've learned my lesson, from Professor One. We need to do a little bit of clipping. We're trying to split this into 2 parts, right? The first part is about the Collins home and also about the lesbian's home. These are 2, so we're making sort of like contrast. What is called, energy saving and what is called a very unfriendly home, really. So I'd like to pick some of the vocabulary to do the spoke dictation, and those vocabulary should be very, very carefully picked. For example, the new words may be strange to my student, and number 2, the spelling, very easy to be spelled wrong, and number 3, detailed information, like numbers. So what I'm going to do is try to give them some of the challenge. So after that, we're going to do a little bit check the answer and teaching. Teaching some of the the meanings, for example, the solar panel and the collocations, like plugging and also spelling. electricity, lots of words difficult to spell, and pronunciation like a bomb, light bulb. It's very difficult for students to pronounce. And then the reason why I'm doing this one is an idea called noticing, right? Students will notice the gap between what they know and what they don't know. So let's say if they got 10 blanks, they got 9 right. So they want to really get the correct answer for the last one, but they missed that one. So they would be very, listen to you very attentively because they want to know the answer. And that's the time where teaching is the most effective because they really want to get that. Let's do it like a jigsaw. You really want to get that missing part. Okay, if we move on to the number 4, I'm going to introduce something called paraphrasing. This is one strategy I like to use and give them examples how to do that. First one, we can use, let's say, definition. And maybe like, solar panel, give a little bit definition, use your own words. And number 2, like you can use something about, mimicry. When we are communicating with someone, we're using the mimics, right? And last one, we use the synonyms. Some of the words have the similar meaning, so the students will be able to use those paraphrasing strategies. It will be very effective by introducing this strategy, while for the speaking part, the next part. Number 5 is my favorite part. It's called speaking practice, and it's called hot seat. Have anybody here hot seat? No idea. I'd like to share with you. Basically, this is a blackboard with students A and B. So we present a word, let's say a freezer. So the students A and B, they are sitting with their back towards the blackboard, so they're not going to see it. Their group members, they should try their best to explain it, to paraphrase the word, rather than mention this word in this particular context. So they are practicing the paraphrasing strategies, and there's a little bit of competition. They're willing to talk because they want to win this game. And most importantly, do a bit of switch. Once the students got the answer, we switch the next student and try another round. So every student got a chance to talk. Well, let's move on to the last part of my teaching design is assignment. Assignment is closely related to energy saving, so I will ask my students to do a bit of research about energy saving, particularly at home. This is very important because we're not talking about energy saving on the street or something, at home. And I ask them to do research like, what do you think is the biggest waste of energy at home? And what is the most effective way of saving energy at home? So they need to bring back those numbers, do a bit of research, bring those articles on the internet. So they will be bring up lots of things in this part. So, and I have got another lesson for this, but remember, 45 minutes is rather short. We cannot squeeze everything in this. So that's the reason I have got another speaking, plan for this lesson plan, speaking part for the assignment. And it's going to be a whole session of, rather than like, a lesson singled out. So it's sort of like a session of try to summarize. In this lesson, we have got 3 objectives. Vocabulary, we tested in the listening part. And the paraphrasing, we do that in the speaking part. And most importantly, students are practicing unconsciously. Because we want to win this game. When they are winning this game, they forget everything. They try every manner they could use, every method they could use, and they're enjoying the joy of learning. That's the most important part. And as for the critical thinking part, we give them extra time rather in class. So they'll be given some of those some of the time to do a little bit of research to be able to do that. Okay, this is of my teaching plan. I think it's a bit messy. Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Now, I know Chinese teachers like doing structural analysis. Okay. Yeah. Given this this video, many teachers would come up with the idea that it follows the general pattern of problem and solution, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we have 2 different kinds of solutions. One is unplugging, and the other is, building an eco-friendly home. Okay. Now, let's focus on the homes, all right? Cohen's home and Loving's home, okay? Now, if we recall the video, the presentation of the video, and can you analyze the structure of the materials when the video focuses on either of the two homes? So when you see one home, and then we hear a lot, okay? We hear a lot of sentences. And when you go to a different home, we hear a lot, okay? So how are these materials organized when we are viewing one home and then when we are viewing another home?
Okay.
So what is the pattern of organization, to put it simply?
It's a very challenging one, right? To be honest with you, I'm not very good at analysis, but think about my personal experience. If I given this question, I would definitely follow a certain pattern. That is, let's say, whenever you visit someone's home, what do? Basically, walk in the room and show a little bit around the house. So these arrange according to the route of different parts, like they have got freezers problems, they have got heaters problems, and also they have mentioned some of these, the plug-in problem, because think about it, every day we plug in is sort of like habits. Everything that we consider is going to be finding the problems, because there is the guy who actually keep on mentioning several problems and showing different parts of the homes to make sure that the homeowner can know the problems are and what the problems are and how to solve them according to this pattern. But if we look at the so-called eco-friendly home, it would be a little bit different because they mentioned several numbers, particularly about like 120 watts and about like minus 40 degrees Celsius. They are focusing more about the whole energy saving point and illustrated in a way that demonstrate numbers, focusing on the numbers. So this is basically what I got from that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's focus on our teaching plan. You listed 3 objectives: vocabulary, paraphrasing, and critical. All right. And for vocabulary, that's something that you have to think about in every class. Okay. Yeah. Paraphrasing, and then behind that you have an S, which stands for speaking. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So I was wondering what you meant by paraphrasing. I mean, do you want to develop students' ability to do paraphrase, or do you want to use paraphrase as a teaching strategy or learning strategy to practice to train their speaking skills, right? Yeah. Okay. So is that an objective, or is that a strategy or a method? Yes. All right.
Okay, that's a very good question because. Well, I've been teaching IELTS speaking for over 6 years, to be honest. When I'm dealing with a huge number of students with their problem with speaking, there are several things they need to do before they could just open their mouths. The first one is create a relaxing atmosphere. Especially adults, they are feeling losing face sometimes. They don't really want to talk because they were afraid of making a mistake. And number 2 is associated with willingness. Like when they are winning this game, when they are really involved in the interesting topics, they really want to start to talk. And number 3 is what we are looking at is called the strategies. Some of the students have the problem with, finding the exact word. What they do, most of the time, they got stuck and they feel so panicked, they stop talking. However, my personal experience, I've been dealing with foreigners so many years, and I couldn't find a specific word. I didn't stop talking. I used this strategy to help my students keep on talking, to convey ideas, or using my expressions and body language to help us understand. Because communication, the true meaning, the essence of communication is help each other to understand. And also, some of the students need ideas because they don't know what to say. And some of the language problems, they need those building blocks to help them. And with the strategy, they know how to deal with anxiety and stress. So, your question back to the paraphrasing. This is one strategy I hope I can help my students grasp. It's going to be very useful. Let's say if a foreigner comes to visit their campus, sometimes they may show them around, but they couldn't find a specific word. They can define that building. They can show, oh, what can we do over there, etc. So actually help them to enhance the communication part. So this is very useful strategy, and I like to help students to do that. Okay.
Thank you.